In the village of Umuahia, tucked between two sacred hills and wrapped in the soft fog of early morning myths, there flowed a river. Not just any river. Ah, my dear listener, this river was said to sing. Yes, sing, but not in the way birds sing or your drunk uncle sings after 2 gourds of palm wine. No, this river whispered secrets to those bold enough to listen and cursed those foolish enough to look. They called it Ọsịmiri Ihuanya, the river of faces. And children were taught from the moment they could crawl, never look into Ọsịmiri Ihuanya. Even the gods avert their eyes. Chioma, who everyone just called Chi, was 12 seasons old, bold, curious, and with a stubbornness thick enough to need fufu. She would rather pluck the tail off a live lizard than obey a rule that made no sense. And this rule, it itched her brain like a mosquito trapped in her ear. Every market day, the women of Umuahia would pass the river, balancing baskets on their heads and humming tunes that masked their fear. The elders would pour libation and turn their backs as they chanted prayers. And she would always sneak a peek, not into the water directly. No, she wasn't that foolish, but at the glimmers, the edges, the reflections, just enough to keep her hunger for answers gnawing. Her grandmother, Mama Ekwutosi, the village herbalist, always caught her. Chioma, she would bark, hand on hip, her wrapper fluttering like angry wings. One day that curiosity of yours will invite thunder to dance on your head. And Chi, cheeky as ever, would respond, then I will wear my best slippers so the thunder will see I'm ready. The elders did not find this funny, but it was on the night of the red moon, when the chickens refused to cluck and the dogs howled like widows, that the river decided she had peeped enough. She had sneaked out. She wasn't supposed to. She had heard the elders say, during the red moon, the river sings the loudest. That's when it feeds. Feeds? On what? She had to know. With only a lantern and her feet padding softly on the dew-kissed grass, Chi tiptoed down the forest path, heart pounding like a talking drum at a wedding. The river shimmered ahead. The air was heavy, like it was pregnant with secrets, and the river was singing. A soft melodic hum, like a mother soothing a crying baby, like a lullaby from a dream you forgot too soon. Chi's breath caught in her throat. She stepped closer. She should have turned back. But where's the fun in that? She bent down slowly, the lantern casting orange shadows on her face. She hovered above the surface. And then she looked, but instead of her reflection, she saw a face, not hers, a woman with silver tears and hair like flowing night, eyes that held entire rainstorms, skin the color of river mud, smooth and glistening. She was beautiful, but in that eerie, haunting way that made you want to run and never stop. And then the woman smiled. Chioma, she gasped. How do you know my name? The woman's voice was water and wind and sorrow all at once. Because I gave it to you. She stumbled back. Mama Ekwutosi gave me that name. No, child, the voice sang. She only repeated it. You are mine. I am your mother. Boom! Thunder cracked like a whip. The river rippled violently. She dropped her lantern, the flame snuffing out like a dying breath. Then from behind her a voice. Chioma! It was Mama Ekwutosi. Old as she was, that woman ran like a leopard when spirits were involved. She dragged Chi back from the river's edge, mumbling incantations, spitting into the soil and slapping the ground with her bare palm. The river hissed. Yes, hissed, and then it went still. Chi sat trembling. She said, "She's my mother." Mama Ekwutosi's face went pale, lips tight as dried yam. She lied, right? She whispered. The old woman was silent, and that silence was an answer more terrifying than any scream. The next morning, the village was buzzing like a disturbed hornet's nest. Mama Ekwutosi's granddaughter saw the river's face. Chioma is possessed now. Her real mother is a water spirit. Africans and gossip. They go together like pepper and stew. She sat under the kola tree, arms folded, chin resting on her knees, watching as Mama Ekutosi prepared herbs. "Drink this," her grandmother said, passing her a steaming calabash. "It smells like snake sweat." "Good, that means it's working." She sipped reluctantly. "So, are you going to tell me?" she asked. Mama Ekutosi sighed. "Long ago, before you were born, your father loved a woman. Not just any woman, she was a river maiden." She blinked. "Like a mermaid?" We call them Ndi Mamiri, daughters of the river. Beautiful, powerful, but wild. He met her by the river's edge, and she enchanted him." She leaned forward, eyes wide. "So, what happened?" "She bore him a child. You." Chi's heart thumped. "But our people feared her. They said she was bringing drought and madness. So the elders performed a rite. They trapped her in the river, bound by ancient incantations. And I took you and raised you as my own." Chi's throat was dry. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because knowing too early would awaken the bond. And once a child of water hears the river's song, they can never unhear it." Just then, the ground beneath them vibrated, boom, boom, like footsteps. But no one was walking. Mama Ekutosi stood. "They're coming." "Who?" "The elders and the priestess of Ani." True to her words, the council soon arrived, adorned in red and white, their anklets jingling, staffs tapping the earth with each step. "Chioma," the high priestess intoned, "you have broken a sacred law." Chi stood tall. "I only looked. And in doing so, you awakened something that should have remained buried." Mama Ekutosi stepped forward. "She's just a child." "She is no child," the priestess spat. "She is Umuahia, a child of the deep, and she must be tested." She gulped. "Tested how?" "You must return to the river at dawn, alone. If the spirit embraces you, you will be one of them. If she rejects you, you will be cleansed forever." Mama Ekutosi gripped Chi's hand. "They want to sacrifice her," she growled. "No," the priestess said calmly. "We want the truth, and only the river can give it." Chi's fingers trembled, but her voice didn't. "Then I'll go." "Chioma," her grandmother gasped, but the girl was already walking back inside, eyes sharp, lips tight. She was done being a question. It was time to become an answer. The night before the test, Umuahia held its breath. Even the wind seemed unsure whether to blow. Inside Mama Ekutosi's hut, the air was thick with the scent of crushed bitter leaf and burning incense. Chioma sat cross-legged, staring at the fire, while her grandmother circled her, muttering words older than the oldest tree in the village. "Chioma, listen to me well," Mama Ekutosi said, sprinkling white chalk in a circle around her. "This is not a battle of muscles, Biko. This is a battle of spirit. You must go with your head and your heart tied tightly together." Chioma nodded, but her thoughts were racing like Okada on a muddy road. The woman in the river, that face, those eyes. Could it really be her mother? Could a girl born in a village of yam farmers really carry the blood of a river spirit? Mama Ekutosi stopped chanting. "Here." She handed Chi a small leather pouch. "Wear this around your neck. It contains the tears of a tortoise, the hair of a newborn goat, and 7 stones from the edge of Ọsịmiri Ihuanya. It will protect you, maybe." "Maybe?" she asked. The old woman gave a weary smile. "I didn't say it was a guarantee. This is not a mobile insurance policy." Chioma smirked. Even at the edge of a terrifying ritual, her grandmother could squeeze out a little humor. At dawn, the village gathered. No drums, no singing, just silence. The kind of silence that made birds stop mid-flight. The high priestess stood by the riverbank, her face painted in the chalk of divinity. Her voice rang out like thunder wrapped in velvet. "Let the child step forward." Chioma walked barefoot, the earth cool beneath her feet. The pouch bounced gently against her chest. Behind her, Mama Ekutosi held back tears. The priestess raised her staff. Go to the water, kneel, look in. If she comes to you, we will know you are hers. If not, we cleanse you." Chioma looked back once. Her grandmother nodded, lips trembling, and then she stepped to the edge. The river was calm, too calm, like a mouth holding back a scream. She knelt, she breathed, she looked, and once again, the face was there. The woman, her mother, only this time she was crying. "Chioma," the river woman whispered, "they want to erase me again, but I am part of you, and you are part of me." Chi's voice shook. "Why did you never come for me? I tried many times, but your grandmother's protections were strong. I watched you grow. Every laugh, every scratch on your knee, every stubborn tantrum. I was there, trapped." Tears welled in Chioma's eyes. Behind her, the priestess was growing impatient. "Well, has the river spoken?" Chioma stood. "She's my mother." Gasps echoed like a wave. "She claims the spirit. Blasphemy. Madness." The priestess raised her staff. "Then you are no longer one of us. From this day, Chioma, daughter of the river, you are banished from Umuahia. Go and join your mother beneath the waves." "No!" Mama Ekutosi shouted, rushing forward. "You will not cast her away like a snake's old skin." But the priestess slammed her staff into the ground. The earth trembled, the river surged, and Chioma, she began to glow. A soft blue light radiated from her skin. The villagers screamed. She wasn't just a girl anymore. The river had accepted her, and it wasn't done. Suddenly, from the water, a figure rose. The river woman, no longer a reflection. She was real, wet, glistening, and wrapped in a robe of flowing mist. "I am Neoma," she said, "daughter of Ani, guardian of Ọsịmiri Ihuanya, and this child is mine." The priestess took a step back. "That spirit has been bound by law. You cannot." Neoma's eyes flashed. "Law made by men afraid of power they cannot control. Your presence brings imbalance, famine, misfortune. Nor your lies do. You poisoned the river with your greed. You blamed me for your curses. But today, truth returns to Umuahia." Chioma stood beside her mother. Two halves, now whole. Mama Ekutosi stepped forward, raising a trembling hand. "If she goes with you, will she survive?" Neoma smiled. "She is not going anywhere. Chioma will live both above and below. She will walk between worlds, bridge spirit and soil." The priestess growled. "We will not allow this." But the villagers were murmuring now. Doubt, curiosity, some even hope. And then an elder stepped forward, old Papa Namdi, who hadn't spoken in years. "If she can bring peace between us and the river, let her stay." Heads nodded. The priestess looked around. Her power was slipping like wet sand. She turned on her heel and stormed away. Neoma kissed Chioma's forehead. "Your journey begins now." And with that she dissolved back into the water, the river calm once more. Back in the village, things began to change. The crops flourished. The river ran sweet and clean. And Chioma, she became a legend. Some said she could speak to fish. Others swore they saw her walk on water. But those who knew her simply called her the girl who looked and found her truth. Weeks passed. Chioma was no longer just Chioma. She was Chioma, the half-spirit, Chioma of the river's blood, the girl who could heal a fever with river clay and speak to frogs like old friends. Children followed her, mimicking her walk. Mothers gave her palm wine in calabashes carved with thanks. Even Papa Namdi started bathing again. He said the river told him to clean his act, literally. But not everyone smiled. The high priestess, humiliated and bitter, met secretly with 3 elders under the old kola tree. "She is dangerous," one hissed. "We have seen spirit children before. They always bring storms." "She hasn't brought a storm," another replied. "She brought rain after a 3-month drought." "Yes, but too much rain is also a problem." "She's just a girl," the third elder offered. The priestess slammed her hand on the tree root. No, she is not just anything. That spirit Neoma was banished for a reason. Chioma is the crack in the dam, and when a dam cracks, villagers drown. They plotted, they schemed, they called upon an old friend. Not a nice friend, not even a friend really. Ekwuru the Twister, a wind demon once buried beneath the red hills of Igbo Etiti. The priestess whispered his name in the forbidden tongue, slicing her palm and dripping blood onto a clay drum sealed for decades. The drum cracked, and the wind began to laugh. Chioma woke to a strange silence. Even the crickets were hiding. She stepped outside her hut and saw leaves swirling unnaturally in circles. The air felt heavy, like it had something to say but didn't know how. Then she heard it. Chioma. Her name carried on the wind. She turned. Behind her, the forest twisted, branches bent without breaking. Shadows moved in ways shadows shouldn't. And from that twisted forest came Ekwuru, tall, thin, wrapped in smoke and dried leaves, his mouth stretched like a wound. Ah, so this is the half-spirit child. You smell like fish and rebellion. Chioma stood her ground. I didn't summon you. No, but your enemies did. And lucky me, I was bored. He stepped closer, his feet not touching the earth. I offer you a deal, girl. Deny your mother. Break your tie to the river, and I'll leave your village in one piece. Chioma narrowed her eyes. And if I don't? He smiled. Then I turn your sweet little Umuahia into a pile of drifting sand. Chioma did not flinch. I suggest you try. The battle began at midday. The sun was overhead. Chickens hid under baskets. Goats screamed like opera singers. Ekwuru summoned whirlwinds. They tore through yam barns and snatched pots from cooking fires. Chioma stood in the center of the square, eyes closed, chanting. The river answered. A wave rose from the stream and wrapped itself around her like armor. Her skin shimmered again. Mama Ekutosi threw a calabash into the whirlwind. It exploded in mid-air, releasing the scent of garlic and broken curses. But it wasn't enough. Ekwuru laughed. I have eaten king's girl. You think you can match me with soup ingredients and river perfume? Chioma knelt, palms flat on the earth. I don't need to match you. I just need to balance you, she whispered. A pulse went through the soil. From the hills, a low rumble came. And then Neoma rose again. This time she was not alone. Behind her came the forgotten spirits of the region. Oganiru, the spirit of prosperity. Uche, the spirit of wisdom. Adaku, the spirit of lost daughters. They circled Chioma. Neoma's voice rang out. We are the river, the wind, the soil, and the flame, and she is our vessel. Ekwuru's form flickered. Impossible. You were sealed before, Neoma said. You will be scattered now. Chioma opened her eyes. Wind may twist, but water flows, and stone remembers. She raised both hands. The earth beneath Ekwuru cracked. A vortex of roots, water, and sand wrapped around him. He screamed. The sky turned red, then blue, then blinding white, and he was gone, not killed, balanced. The villagers crawled from hiding, blinking in the new silence. The priestess now was gone, vanished. Some say she became a bat. Others say the wind took her too. Either way, no one mourned. That night, a festival was held, not for victory, for truth. For years, the river had been blamed. Now they saw it differently. The river was not their enemy. It was their mirror. And Chioma, she was their reflection. Flawed, strong, unpredictable, but full of hope. Under the moonlight, Mama Ekutosi pulled Chioma close. Your mother was once feared, but you've made her respected. Chioma smiled. And maybe one day they'll stop fearing what they don't understand. Or at least cook it first, her grandmother added. They both laughed. But Chioma knew her journey was not over, because to truly walk between worlds, you must never close your eyes. The next morning, Chioma awoke to a dream. But it wasn't her dream. She stood in the same place her mother once stood, barefoot on the river's edge, with clouds reflecting like ghost eyes on the water. Neoma was there, but not like before. She looked tired, dimmer. You are strong, Chioma. she said softly, like the hush before dawn. But strength comes with debt. What do you mean? Chioma asked. The river always gives, but never for free. For every healing, there is a hurting. For every light, a shadow. That balance must be kept. Chioma opened her mouth to protest, but woke up instead, heart pounding, breath heavy. She wasn't alone in her hut. At the doorway stood a child, skin pale like fish belly, eyes like empty snail shells, no footprints behind them. You opened the river, the child whispered. Now others will come, then vanished. In the days that followed, strange things began happening. The fish in the river started singing, not pleasant songs, eerie lullabies with no beginning and no end. A young boy found a turtle with human teeth. The palm trees leaned away from the river. Chioma consulted Mama Ekutosi. The old woman stirred her bitter leaf soup slowly, muttering, I warned your mother once before she crossed. Too much river magic leaks through cracks. Now the cracks are open. So what do I do? Chioma asked. Close them, before something crawls through that doesn't want to go back. It was night when the spirit came. Not Ekwuru, not any spirit known to the land. This one had no face, just a sackcloth where a face should be, stitched closed with hair. It hovered above the river like a whisper that had lost its voice. It looked at Chioma, or tried to. I want a name, it rasped. Chioma stepped back. You're not from here. I came when you opened the river. I was forgotten, buried in old stories, but now I remember, and I want a name. The spirit flickered. Or I take yours. Chioma ran. She didn't scream. She knew spirits fed on fear like akara in hot oil. She ran not to escape, but to learn. She ran to Auntie Njideka, a wanderer who lived near the haunted hills, keeper of unwanted lore. Auntie Njideka didn't blink when she heard the tale. Faceless spirits are memory spirits. They were erased, forgotten by people too ashamed to remember them. So how do I stop it? Give it what it wants. A name? No, a story. Chioma blinked. I don't understand. Auntie Njideka stood and pointed to a cracked calabash. If you name a spirit, you shape it. Give it a past, and it loses its hunger. Spirits live on memory. You must tell its story and survive the telling. The next night, Chioma returned to the river. The faceless spirit was waiting, trembling like cloth in wind. I want a name. Chioma nodded. Then hear your story. And she began. Once there was a woman born between warring clans. No one claimed her. They said she was cursed. She lived on scraps, survived on silence. One day, she saw herself in the river and whispered, if no one names me, I'll name myself. She called herself Eziale, the one who chose herself. The wind stilled. The spirit stopped trembling. You remember me, it whispered. I do now. The stitches on the cloth began to unravel. Beneath it was not a monster, but a tear-streaked woman. I'm not angry anymore, Eziale said, just lonely. Chioma reached forward. You are not forgotten. You are part of our story now. Eziale nodded and vanished, not in fury, in peace. From that day, the river sang new songs. They were sad but beautiful. Mothers said they helped babies sleep deeper. The elders held special evenings where the children would gather and Chioma would tell stories by the fire, true ones, spirit ones, ones no longer forbidden. She taught them how names matter, how memory keeps danger at bay, and how fear loses its power when faced with understanding. But most of all, she reminded them never ignore the river, because sometimes what it reflects is you. The moon was heavy that night, so round it looked like a giant kola nut offered by the sky. Chioma stood once again at the river's edge, but this time she wasn't there to face a spirit. She was there for the ceremony. Her village had decided the river would no longer be feared. They called it Ihumiri, to look into the water, not as challenge, not as rebellion, but as respect. The elders came in white wrappers, barefoot. The women sang songs older than memory. Children wore strings of coral beads, their eyes wide with wonder. Mama Ekutosi walked beside Chioma, her proud hands clutching the calabash of blessings. They stopped beside the sacred stone. Chioma stepped forward. "My mother's name was Neoma," she said, voice steady like a talking drum. "She gave her life to protect this village. The river took her, but it also gave her back, through me." She turned to the water. "I have seen what lies beneath, and I tell you, it is not evil. It is forgotten, buried, misunderstood, but not evil." The villagers murmured among themselves. Chioma raised her voice. "It is time to remember, to tell the stories, to speak the names, to respect what lives within the flow." With that, she poured the oil from the calabash into the river. It didn't sizzle, it shimmered. For a moment, the water gleamed with the faces of women, old, young, radiant, weary, all watching, all smiling. Then they faded. In the months that followed, the village changed. Children were taught not just arithmetic or farming, but folklore, not just rules, but reasons. The river became a place of stories, not silence. Fishermen no longer spat on its banks. They greeted it. Auntie Njideka moved into the village to become the first official keeper of tales, a title not seen in generations. Mama Ekutosi finally taught her hidden recipes to 3 chosen girls. And Chioma, she became Chioma the Rememberer. Not a chief, not a priestess, not a seer, something older, a bridge between what was and what will be. But one evening, as the Harmattan wind kissed the village with its dusty lips, a new traveler arrived. He was cloaked in ash-colored cloth. He walked with a limp, and he carried a gourd that hummed with a sound no one recognized. He asked for Chioma by name. They brought him to her. "You are the one who sees?" he asked. "I am the one who remembers," she replied. He nodded. "Then remember this, the river is not the only place where forgotten things live." He opened his gourd. Inside was fire, and from it rose a whisper. Not all stories want to be told. Then he left, barefoot, into the night, leaving only dust and dread. Chioma did not sleep that night. She stood beneath the Udara tree watching the stars, and she whispered to the wind, "If more forgotten things come, I will remember them too." Because she knew as long as someone listens, even the darkest story becomes light. And sometimes it is the story that saves the storyteller. And so the river now flows with memory instead of fear. But tell me, what would you have done if you were in Chioma's shoes? Would you have looked into the water or walked away obeying the elders without question? Let's talk in the comments. If you enjoyed this tale, tap that like button like a drum of celebration. Share this video and subscribe for more stories that stir your soul and tickle your thoughts. See you in the next video.